I'm picking up some very unusual signals from up the coast.
Hi there, and welcome to Baseball by Design. I am SportsLogos.net minor league baseball correspondent Paul Caputo, broadcasting live, as always, from my Sunday Helmet Hall of Fame here in Fort Collins, Colorado.
And I am Dan Simon, podcasting from the Studio Simon Stumper and Sports Design headquarters in Louisville, Kentucky.
Dan, good morning. Hello, how are you?
Good morning to you, Paul Caputo. I am fantastic. What's going on with you over there in your particular neck of the woods?
Dan, I continue to be doing great here in Fort Collins, Colorado, as we ramp up with the baseball season. Thank goodness it's finally here. This off season seemed really long. I got to tell you, I'm a little bit nervous about the potential lockout or strike that may happen in 2027 with Major League Baseball. So I'm going to soak up all the baseball that I can this year. The good news is, though, that affiliated minor league baseball and independent baseball won't be affected by that. So we'll still have all the things that we want to do with the minors. But as we get started on the season here, I'm just happy to have baseball back.
Yeah, a number of the social media accounts that I follow are, of course, baseball related, and a number of those are doing their countdown to opening day. And
Sure.
A lot of times those feature photos of players on that particular team, and their jersey numbers are the number of days, and those jersey numbers are getting lower and lower. And I'm looking forward to when they get into the teens and then the single digits, and then when those posts stop because baseball is officially back.
Dan, I don't want to overstate what I think is my influence on baseball social media, but I would love to be proven wrong on this if someone has evidence out there. The very first social media outlet to use uniform numbers to count down the days until baseball may have been my countdown to spring training. I've been doing this for about 12 years, Dan, where we count down the off season using uniform numbers. I don't recall seeing that before I started doing it with countdown to spring training. So I'm not trying to overstate my significance, Dan, and I keep checking my bank account to see if I'm rich because of that, and I'm not yet. But I don't know. I feel like that's something I contributed to the world here. Or maybe it's just such an obvious idea that a bajillion people had it all at once.
I think it was you.
Who do I sue, Dan? Can I sue somebody every time I see someone using a uniform number to count down to baseball?
Let's not become litigious.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's a pretty good idea.
Okay. But you're the first person to ever do a baseball podcast on minor league baseball and other leagues under that umbrella design. So you're a trendsetter in many ways.
Let me check my bank account again here. Nope, still not rich. Oh well. Dan, you lived in Los Angeles for a period. You worked for the Los Angeles Dodgers for 6 seasons in the late 90s and early 2000s. We're talking about a team in Long Beach, California, which is not part of Los Angeles, but it's in the area. It's the greater Los Angeles area, maybe. I want to be careful because I know that people get very picky about like what you lump in with LA and what you don't. But Long Beach is Los Angeles adjacent, I would say. Is that a place that you saw or are familiar with when you were in Los Angeles?
Very much so. My first roommate in Los Angeles, shout out to George Nicholas, went to Long Beach State for college. He had a group of friends from his time at Long Beach State that I became friends with. It was really great. You know, when I moved to Los Angeles, I didn't know anyone there except for George Nicholas and his brother Chris. But they had a large group of friends, and they like welcomed me into that group. So I immediately had a group of friends when I moved to Los Angeles. All of those friends, not all of them, most of them were friends of George from Long Beach State. Some of them still lived in Long Beach, and so we would go down there like to do things with them. Also, where the team that is being featured in this episode, the Long Beach coast, they're going to be playing at Blair Field, which is where Long Beach State baseball team plays. In addition to that, there have been, I think, two independent minor league teams that played at Blair Field, which is where the Long Beach Coast are going to play. And one of those was first, it was the Long Beach Barracudas.
Oh,
And that was in the Western Baseball League,
okay.
a long defunct league. They then changed their name to the Long Beach Riptide. And I got to see the Riptide win the league championship at Blair Field. I was at the title winning championship winning game. I then also had the good fortune to be able to design the identity for one of the teams playing at Blair Field, the Long Beach Armada.
Oh,
So I've got a connection to Long Beach. I've got a connection to where this team's going to play, and spent many a day in Long Beach.
I had no idea when I asked the question that you had that level of connection to where the coast will be playing, and then Long Beach proper. One of the things about this brand is, and we'll talk about this as we get into the episode. We have Ina Patel, who is the general manager of the team. We'll talk about the fact that it is sort of text based and it's meant to be sort of intentionally cool, but not super literal, like trying to represent a specific thing. It's just meant to sort of like evoke a vibe, right? Like it's meant just sort of have a feeling, a sense of place without literally representing a thing. There's no wave in this brand, right? Like there's no ocean or anything like that. There's no coastline. As a designer, have you had a lot of projects like that when you're asked to create a logo that doesn't have something literally represented in it? And is that harder than creating a logo where, hey, we want a penguin wearing a robe?
I don't think I've ever done an identity that does not feature something tangible, like you mentioned, a wave or something else that represents the coast.
Right.
No, I don't think, at least off the top of my head, I can't think of at least a sports design that I've ever done that does not have some tangible visual representation of something.
It's interesting as a sports brand, right? Because it feels like what they're doing is more just a brand for Long Beach itself, which is certainly an approach, right? Like, I mean, I think that that's it's a valid approach for a sports team, just different from what you see in minor league baseball right now. So it'll be interesting to have that conversation. They also unveiled a secondary, an alternate name, but they haven't unveiled the brand for it yet. It's the Regulators, which ties, of course, to Warren G, who, along with then Nate Dogg, put out the song Regulate. He was from Long Beach. So there's all these connections to Long Beach with Warren G, of course, and he's a part owner of the team. But that's also an interesting thing that they did. They actually announced Regulators as an alternate identity without branding. And so that creates a certain moment for fans there where everyone, I think, is sort of picturing, like, what is this brand going to be? And then when it's actually unveiled, the challenge is, does it sort of meet their expectations, or so that will be interesting as well to see how that Regulators brand plays out. But interesting team, interesting place. I love that you have a connection to it. I'll ask you one more thing before we get to the interview and then to your stumper. But one of the things that comes up in this conversation is that Long Beach is such a diverse place, sort of culturally and naturally, that it was kind of impossible to pin down one thing that would really represent the whole place. Do you have a sense for like what's the vibe of Long Beach when you were when you were to go to Long Beach? What kind of experience was it for you?
Well, the only thing I ever did in Long Beach was go to games at Blair Field. So I really could not tell you anything about, the vibe of Long Beach.
Well, Dan, that's the kind of insight we're looking for here on Baseball by Design. All right, let's get to Ina Patel, and then we're going to be speaking with a Long Beach musician about the vibe in Long Beach, Davis Sauer. We'll speak with him after we speak with Ina, and then you'll be back with a studio Simon Stumper.
I will, and I'm looking forward to this. I look forward to all the stumpers, but this one's a fun one. So I'll see you in a little bit with that.
Here we go. All right, everyone, I am so pleased to welcome to Baseball by Design for the very first time, Ina Patel, who is the team president for the Long Beach Coast. Ina, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm excited to chat with you, Paul.
This is a really cool new identity for a team in the Pioneer League. I'm here in Colorado right now. We lost all of our Pioneer League teams. They all shifted out to you guys in
Yeah.
California there. I'm jealous that you have this new team with this cool new identity. I guess that's just a reason I'm going to have to get out to the Long Beach and catch a game at some point.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to have you out there. One of the Grand Junction team's owners is actually involved in the Long Beach coast as well. So,
Okay.
um,
That was not Warren G, I assume. Warren G didn't own the Grand Junction Jackalopes.
no, Mike Tolan.
Okay. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a name that I know. And we did an episode about the jackalopes on Baseball by Design. So,
yeah.
well, that's very cool. The Pioneer League is it's a favorite of mine. I'm a huge fan of the home run contest to end the games if it ends in a tie. I never got to see one in person at Northern Colorado Owls with a Z games, Rocky Mountain Vibes games. So when I come out to California, I'll get to see one of those home run contests to end the ball game. But hey, we're straying from the subject at hand. This is a brand new team in the Pioneer League, and they are called the Long Beach Coast. What is the significance of the nickname Long Beach Coast?
I mean, apart from the literal reference to the coast, Long Beach is probably one of the most diverse cities and communities that I've ever kind of been in. And when we were doing our market research, that's what kept coming up over and over again. I think, from the socioeconomic contrasts, the duality between like you can walk from a shipyard to oceanfront mansions. We did a ton of focus groups, and I remember at one of the art galleries that we did, one of the artists that was there talking to us about Long Beach in general. I asked him, I said, if you could pick one line to describe Long Beach, he said he said from the hood to the high rise.
That's
And what he was trying to do is basically hammer home kind of the duality that exists, and just because of how diverse this community is. And so when we were thinking about naming a team, was there one kind of iconic building or, true staple in the community that would resonate with everyone? We really leaned into the one thing that does tie the entire city together, which was the 11 miles of coastline. The coastline, I think, is even larger than Santa Monica's coastline. I think it's one of the largest continuous coastlines there is in California. And we thought that that was kind of what threaded the needle and really kind of tied together East and West Long Beach and the different communities that exist there.
for people who are not familiar with the greater Los Angeles area. Long Beach is south of Los Angeles. It's considered its own city, though, right? Like it's not like Long Beach is like a neighborhood in Los Angeles, right? Long Beach is its own place.
Yep. And I think I'm pretty sure it's the largest city in California without its own pro sports team.
Oh,
So one of the other reasons was when you're looking at markets, it's not just that it's positioned between two larger markets in Orange County and LA, but it also has such a rich sports history and baseball history specifically as it comes to like little league to high school and then obviously college. So it was a no-brainer in terms of where we wanted to bring this team.
well, there's a professional sports team there now. This,
Yeah.
one of the things that I note about the identity is that, in minor league baseball and the Pioneer League included, many teams have identities that are based on characters or at least, illustrations. This is entirely text-based. The Long Beach Coast, it's a script, and then you have a interlocking LBC cap logo there. What was
Yep.
organizationally, what was the thinking in terms of not having a recognizable, like an ocean character or, like a guy on the beach or, I mean, it's something that you might have expected from minor league baseball these days.
Yeah, I mean, I think we still are trying to push the boundaries of what a baseball brand can really be. One of the stories behind, and it worked out the way it did, but we had a chance to create a really iconic LBC logo. Going into I don't know how many clothing shops in Long Beach and looking at what everyone was wearing, we saw two things that were prominent: Long Beach State hat and a JoJo's t-shirt. And those were the two most common kind of logos and brands that we saw everywhere in Long Beach. And so part of it was being able to create a truly iconic LBC logo that transcends baseball and sports in general, because there's so much pride in that city and people want to rep where they're from. I think the other thing is we did a limited launch in terms of we launched a name and we launched a really limited merch capsule with a couple of SKUs, but that's in no way reflective of everything else that we've been cooking up. So, as you can imagine, baseball teams like your jersey patch, your actual uniforms, and things like that. So, I think people will be pleasantly surprised at what's coming down the pipeline. But I think it was trying to find something that transcended sports and baseball in general. And so you will see elements of kind of graphics and iconography that really kind of ties back to Long Beach. But in terms of our primary logo, we did decide to pick something that was simple and classic.
Speaking of the design of the logo, you worked with a designer named Francisco Reyes, who also goes by Never Made. He has not done necessarily a ton of work in minor league baseball. I know that he's worked in other sports, but he's local to the Long Beach community. How important was that to you all to work with a designer who was from that part of the country, from that town in particular, to craft this identity?
It was extremely important. I think the first time I tried to DM him was back in March or April, and we didn't really get connected until I think almost September. So as you can imagine, and this was, months of asking for referrals and trying to build a network down there to find a truly local designer that had a personal stake in what they were creating. And I think it kind of just adds to the story of everything we've been trying to do has been in partnership with someone from Long Beach. So the design, even the brand merch that we launched was in partnership with Long Beach Clothing Company. You know, my everyday kind of interactions with Cal State Long Beach to when it comes to Blair Field, but we've really wanted to kind of build this team with the community hand in hand, and that was a key part of working with Francisco and knowing he was the right person to do this.
You've referred to Long Beach as sort of they and them. Where are you not from there?
I grew up in LA.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay. All
yeah,
right.
yeah. So I think probably in the last year, I've spent 3 to 4 days a week down there. But
Yeah.
it's also kind of expanded my understanding of the Long Beach community. And even if, as I've hired staff and we've partnered with local businesses and folks there, there's a lot of pride people have from being from Long Beach. So I don't claim it as I'm from there because I know better. But for me, it's really doing as much as I can to kind of really understand the community
So
and the
that's
people.
interesting, growing up close to Long Beach, but not in Long Beach. I'm sure you had sort of perceptions of it. And then in the process of coming up with a team name for, the Long Beach Coast, coming up with an identity for this new team, you probably learned a lot about Long Beach. Is there something that sort of like jumped out at you during that process that was really instructive for coming up with this name?
Yeah, I don't even know how many dozen people involved in kind of the naming and bringing the team here, from investors to consultants. We did, I don't know how many focus groups, from kind of millennials to, like senior citizens to little league players too, right? That showed up with, a handwritten logo of what they wanted the team to be called. But the one thing that I've learned is that there is a sense of community across the entire city. It is definitely kind of, and people have said it to me a few times, each just in the last few days, which is kind of a small town feel in a big city. Every single person I've met has somehow been connected or knows or has grown up with someone else that we're working with or that we've met. And it's hard for me to imagine how that's the case, with a population of, over 500,000, but it rings true. And I think every kind of business meeting I have, I'm able to connect the dots, and people are very, very supportive of each other, and everyone in Long Beach. And so, the story of we wanted to build this team with the people of Long Beach and actually have their input in it, has resonated, and which is why we've gotten the support we have.
Obviously, the greater Los Angeles area has two Major League Baseball teams, a bunch of affiliated minor league baseball teams in the California League, and now independent professional baseball, and there's collegiate baseball, there's collegiate summer wood bat leagues. So I'm curious to know where does the Long Beach coast fit in that larger baseball context of the greater Los Angeles area?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've obviously followed minor league baseball and you understand it. It's all community based and community driven. I think for us, our coaches are kind of based locally in Southern California as well. A large part of our roster are kids, are going to be for kids from Southern California. We really hope that this is going to be part of that pipeline of talent that we're able to kind of send these players to get signed by major league teams. I think it's again, the Long Beach market in and of itself, it has such a strong sports and baseball history from Little League championships, right, to high school and to the dirt bags. And if this is another step in someone's playing career, I think that's amazing. And obviously, to your point, there's so many other teams around major leagues too that the odds of, with these guys getting looks to make it, because, Pioneer League is a developmental league. You get 3 years, and most of these guys are trying to make it and get signed by a major league team, and hopefully they're able to do that.
Fans of, say, the two-time World Series Los Angeles Dodgers are obviously going to be in Long Beach, but the option
Yeah.
to take that short drive to your ballpark and to see community level baseball, I think is such a different experience. I just don't even know if it's the same sort of universe, especially in, a place like the greater Los Angeles area in Long Beach. You've commented already on sort of the process of arriving at the Coast as a nickname and sort of settling on that name. I'm
Yeah.
curious, what were some of the other finalists? What were some of the other possibilities?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we did a naming contest. We had, I don't, I can't even off the top of my head how many unique name submissions we received from all over. And I think, it was several different criteria that played into even narrowing it down. I think when we had the list of semifinalists, we were down to six. And at that point, it was, a mix of kind of conceptual names like the Coast and the Grit. And then there were the Regulators, the Parrots, the Cruisers, and the Groove. And the nod to kind of the music and arts culture that has come out of there. The cruisers, obviously, everyone's like, oh, is it the cruise ship? I'm like, yes, but it could also be, there's a big kind of biking scene. So could it be California cruisers? And then the cars, like lowrider culture, right? So, and then the Parrots obviously had a ton of write-in votes for the Parrots, which seemed to be a really popular one as well.
Is Parrots like Jimmy Buffett, or is it just the wildlife? Where was Parrots from?
There are a ton of parrots in
Huh.
Long Beach, which first I didn't see, but now I'm very aware of them in the community, and so they're prominent all around the city.
I
Learn
had no
learn something
idea.
new. Yep.
The cruisers, were you in communication at all with the team in Modesto? Like, I mean, that was one of the names they were considering as well. So there wasn't a possibility of you both ending up saying, "Hey, we're the cruisers."
No, I mean, and I mean, we know their ownership group too, and I think just naming any team it's hard, and you go into it knowing that some people are going to love it, some people are going to be indifferent, and some people aren't going to like it. And for us, it's really what the name represents, the
Yeah.
brand we're selling, the culture, and the experience, right? And so I think with Modesto too, seeing kind of where they landed as well has been interesting.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, and we just featured them on an episode not too long ago with Dave Heller. Okay, you mentioned the regulators. That obviously, one of the unique things that you all did was that you announced at the same time as announcing your primary identity, you announced you jumped right into the whole secondary identity craze with minor league baseball. You had team minority owner Warren G participate in the announcement of the regulators as an alternate brand. The way I saw that announcement was like Long Beach Coast is like representing the community, and then the regulators has this real like edge to it. Obviously, there's a story behind Warren G and the song Regulate. Sort of a two-part question. What was the thinking in announcing an alternate identity right away? And then tell me about regulators. What was that name? Where did that come from?
Yeah, I mean, announcing the primary and the secondary or like the alternate identity at the same time I mean, this minor league baseball, they all have all identities. I think MLB released kind of all of the affiliated teams identities the day after we announced both of ours. I think it's always been something that's come later, and we really liken it to kind of the way superheroes and comics have been written, right? All of those characters are essentially hiding their superpowers and their secret identity, and we didn't want to. For us, it was like, no, we're going to come out with both out the gate because we think they're both amazing, and we think that they both can kind of have mass appeal across the Long Beach community. And so for us, it's like, why would we want to hide our superpower when it's such a great one? And the people of Long Beach really resonate with that one too.
So Warren G, part owner of the team in 1994, he did with Nate Dogg at the time the song Regulate. What is the significance of Regulators? Like, what is that, what does that team name actually mean there?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it was exactly that. We really wanted to give a nod to kind of legendary 90s hip hop roots and culture that came out of that era with Warren and Snoop. And that's really kind of been part of the fabric of the culture of Long Beach. And so we've kind of, in our minds, we thought, well, the coast really unites the city geographically, but the Regulators really reflects the culture of the city. And so it's, hands down a nod to the music and the art that came out during that.
Are you seeing merch for one team or the other outpacing the other?
Yes, because I don't have merch for the Regulators yet.
Okay.
So yeah,
I was
yes.
thinking that, right? There isn't a logo yet
Yeah.
for the Regulators, right?
No,
Okay.
everything about this team and kind of how we've built the following is a steady drip. So we've kind of been dropping teasers periodically with everything we're doing. So we have a surprise in store tomorrow morning for everyone as it relates to the team, and then we'll continue to learn more as we get closer to opening day.
Well, that'll be news that's at least a week or two old by the time this episode drops. Warren G was wearing a sweatshirt in the release video where it says Regulators on it, but it's like Dodgers blue with like a kind of Dodgers-ish script on it. So I didn't think that was the main identity.
No, that's his merch line
That's
that
okay.
he's had. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. Okay. Well, this is a super cool new identity. It's really fun to see. And while I miss having Pioneer League baseball in Colorado, I will look forward to getting out to California to experience all those teams out there. I mean, a California baseball road trip, I think, has to include the Long Beach coast, I think, here. So where can people go to find out more about the team? Where can people go find the merch for the coast?
Yep. Everything's on our website. So just www.longbeachcoast.com.
Perfect. Ina, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Baseball by Design podcast. On the phone here, we have David Sauer, who has a litany of credentials from the Long Beach music scene. David is, first of all, a member of a band called One High Five. They're in Long Beach, 15-year resident of Long Beach, a recent member of the Arts Council of Long Beach, and revived the Long Beach chapter for International Make Music Day, and works at a beloved record store and hub for local music called Fingerprints Music. David, did I miss anything?
No, that was great, Paul. Hey, thanks for having me. This is great.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to have this conversation. I realize it's a little random. I called you up and said, hey, this new baseball team is sort of founded in the notion that Long Beach has this incredible natural and cultural diversity. That diversity is reflected in the local music scene, not the least of which is by their part owner, Warren G. So I'm going to start really sort of like 30,000 feet here and just ask you, how would you characterize the local music scene in Long Beach?
I would characterize the local music scene here in Long Beach as absolutely diverse, very electric, and exciting. There's always something interesting going on, and I think we cater to a lot of different genres throughout the city, so there's really something for everyone here.
When someone walks into Fingerprints Music, is there sort of can you guess what they're going to be asking for, not based on any demographics, but just like what's the most like popular music folks are looking for specifically at Fingerprints?
No, you can never tell, and that's the beauty of it all. Walking into Fingerprints, I can picture it now. New items, used items, and everyone comes in with something different. Perhaps they have heard something through their friends, they heard something through recent TikTok trends, or they just have something from their parents that they want to investigate. So we have kids leaning into heavily from the 90s. We have kids going into the diverse world sections. Everyone's trying to figure out the best way they can kind of get involved in the music at Fingerprints and enjoy something new for their ears. Fingerprints to me is all about ear candy. There's always something playing in the store, always crazy and diverse, and a lot of the times people are intrigued by that and they want to go investigate what we're listening to, and we try to curate a good selection of music that really will cater to everyone.
One of the things that made me think of, talking to you about music in Long Beach for this episode is the fact that Warren G is a part owner of the team. They have an alternate identity. The Long Beach Coast baseball team has an alternate identity called the Regulators, based on the then Nate Dogg and Warren G song from like the 90s, 1994, I think, Regulate. How big an influence on the Long Beach music scene is, Warren G and that scene from like the 90s?
First of all, I remember listening to that and watching that music video as a kid and being really intrigued by the music video, some of the synth sounds, and just knowing that it was a really cool thing to kind of witness. And it was one of my first introductions to hip-hop, and especially being from the California area, living in Orange County and whatnot. So, I feel like Warren G and all the history that's come from, VIP Records, Snoop Dogg, and Nate Dogg definitely has been layers of bricks that have really cemented the foundation of music here in Long Beach in terms of people loving it and having a solid foundation of a place to go for that type of music.
You mentioned that Fingerprints is a hub for local music. I live in Colorado. It's February right now. We actually have a pretty nice day. It's like 60 degrees and sunny out, which is a little odd for us. But, I picture Long Beach. I picture the ocean, the sand. I picture, the boardwalk, I guess, and folks listening to music outdoors. I'm imagining sort of smaller venues. What if I'm going to be in Long Beach and I'm listening to music, what's most likely that scene going to look like? Is it a smaller venue? Is it on the beach, or is it a little bit inland? Can you paint that picture of, it's a Friday, it's a Saturday, I want to go hear some live music. What does it look like?
Long Beach has no shortage of places to go. We're kind of leaning into in 2026, we're trying to lean into a kind of a touristy destination spot with a couple new festivals coming out on top of the already existing festivals we have here. And in addition to those Friday, Saturday nights, the local scene here, the local venues are all wonderful places to go for new music. Diverse music too. Just thinking about a couple things, we have punk and indie scenes and alternative kind of experimental stuff at Alex's Bar and Vine. We have over at Roscoe's Chicken, there's some great jazz music. D Piazzas is a cool place. And we also have places like the Gas Lamp here in Long Beach, which is known for great cover bands, great food, and great just kind of catering to bands that you can't really quite see on a general basis, but come to those cover bands and you always have a great time.
You mentioned Roscoe's Chicken, and I have to say that the first place I ever had chicken and waffles was at a Roscoe's Chicken. So it's that's
Me too,
another.
Paul.
You too?
Me too. The one up in LA when I was living up
Yeah.
there. Man, that was blew my mind. Did not know that existed.
Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles was iconic. I definitely enjoyed that. Your band, One High Five. First of all, what do you play? What's your role in the band, and what kind of music do you guys play?
Yeah, I sing and write the songs for One High Five. We are kind of an alternative rock punk band, working on a new EP. After an album back in 2019, we've been kind of writing some music in the background, and excited to come back and hit the music scene here in 2026 again.
Yeah. Well, speaking of new seasons, the baseball season is coming up. There's this new baseball team, the Long Beach Coast. It's an independent professional team. I'm curious how far the reach of that announcement is. Is that something that you knew about before I called you?
Yeah, I actually went to the State of the City address here in Long Beach, where our mayor, Rex Richardson, unveiled the news and gave everyone a really nice treat. Everyone who attended the event was able to walk away with a Long Beach Coast hat, baseball hat.
Nice.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, everyone was really excited about that. So I did not know about it until then, but just kind of hearing more about it in terms of the name selection, and I'm really excited to hear that the regulators is part of the naming and the alternative identity as well of our Long Beach Coast team.
That's cool. I never would have guessed that you already had a cap. Let alone you knew about it, but not only that, but you already have a cap. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a different minor league identity, right? Like most minor league baseball teams, they're going to have some sort of character, or there's something illustrative, there's something literally represented. This one is text based, and is just, they did that intentionally because they wanted to sort of encompass all of the culture of 10, 11 miles of coastline there in Long Beach. So having seen the brand, how do you feel it does representing Long Beach as a town, and trying to encompass that diversity of the nature and the culture, and as you're talking about, the music?
I think they did a really good job of kind of splitting the difference between the two. Long Beach as itself is a beautiful destination, and captured, I think, like you said, in the Long Beach Coast aspect, enjoying the beach, the sand, just the general really good party vibes here in the city. On the flip side of that, the culture and the music behind it has definitely helped push the city to where it is now. So honoring kind of both sides of the Long Beach coin is a great way to, participate in this new team.
Well, I'm hoping to get out there someday to catch a game, to check out the new team, and check out Long Beach in general. I've spent a little bit of time in LA and a little bit of time in Santa Monica, but I've not made it down to Long Beach there. So I will come check out Fingerprints Music. I will see if I can check out a live performance of One High Five, and absolutely we'll try to get to a Coast game. So David, thank you so much. This has been really fun. Where can people find your band, Fingerprints Music, anything else that you want to share? Maybe the International Make Music Day, or the arts, all the things that you're involved with. Where would you like to send people to check out your work?
Absolutely. So band One High Five can be found at onehighfive.com. Fingerprints Music is one of the great music stores here in Long Beach, and you can find that website at fingerprintsmusic.com. And makemusicday.org will lead you to this fantastic website where you can get involved with your city, if you're listening to this, and start a chapter of Make Music Day, part of this international event that celebrates music worldwide. So pretty cool stuff all around.
Fantastic. Very cool. David, I am so glad that I found you. This was a really fun conversation, and thanks again for making time in what must be a super busy day for you, because you have so much different stuff going on out there. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat.
Thank you, Paul. This was a pleasure. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone, welcome back. It is time once again for Studio Simon Stumpers, in which Dan Simon of the iconic Louisville-based design firm Studio Simon brings us a trivia question that we call, and have been calling for more than 3 years, Studio Simon Stumpers.
Yes. You're the one that came up with the name for it.
I don't think that's true. I think you came up with the name for it.
Nope.
Did I come up with that?
Yep. I remember exactly the conversation, which was when we first did, I guess, the first stumper. I don't think we called it anything. It was just a trivia question I was going to ask. And I think a few episodes in to my time doing stumpers, I said, we need to come up with a name for this. And you just, I don't know if it was off the top of your head or if you had given it some thought prior to me saying this. You just said, I'm thinking Studio Simon Stumpers. So that came from you, not from me. So.
Oh, well, good job by me. It's kind of like the innovation of counting down to baseball season with uniform numbers. That's I'm just going to claim credit for that, whether it's warranted or not.
Well, in this case, your claim to, well, you weren't even claiming to have come up with it, but I'm telling you, you did, and I know for certain that you did. So you are the originator of the name of this segment, which, let's get to it. In the intro, I mentioned that the Long Beach Coast will be playing at Blair Field, and I mentioned that's also the home to Long Beach State baseball. By the way, this is going to be a naming themed question.
Okay.
And so speaking of names, Long Beach State is not even the official name of that university. It is California State University, comma, Long Beach.
Okay.
But people call it Long Beach State.
Sure.
Now, speaking of names, their athletic teams used to be called the 49ers.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, I don't know if they've officially moved away from that, but they or not, they don't use 49ers anymore. They refer to it as beach athletics or the beach. As a matter of fact, I was looking on their athletic website, and there was an article about, I wanted to read an article about one of their teams so I could see what they're referring to them as. And it was about their basketball team. And a paragraph or two in, they said the beach then mounted a comeback or something like that. So that's what they're known as. But this is a podcast about baseball, and Long Beach State has a very, very good baseball program. Matter of fact, a number of known major leaguers played at Long Beach State. Current player Jeff McNeil, who, he was on the Mets, and led the National League in hitting 2 or 3 years ago. But I think he's either was traded or signed elsewhere as a free agent. Not important. He's still playing. Evan Longoria went there. Troy Tulowitzki went there. Jason Giambi went there. Some pretty good names in baseball. But the baseball team does not go by the name 49ers or Beach Athletics or the Beach. They go by a name that's unique to just the baseball program.
Huh.
And that is a more colorful name that they use. So our studio Simon Stumper today asks, what is that colorful name that the Long Beach State baseball team goes by? Is it stink bombs, dirt bags, or slime balls?
Dan, this is one that I know from actual knowledge. I don't have to do any sussing. I'm glad it was multiple choice, because I would have said something slightly wrong, because when you first asked the question, I thought dirt dogs. But obviously, with the multiple choice options that you've given me, dirt bags is the correct answer. So the Long Beach State dirt bags.
You're on a roll, because I know the prior episode you answered the stumper correctly, and you have answered it correctly again. See, I never know necessarily when you're going to just know something. And it's like when you're watching Jeopardy. Yeah. And there's a question and you know it right away. It's just a really great feeling, but it's not like you're cheating or anything. You just happen to know that information. And so this one, I actually didn't think you were going to know this one.
Ah, interesting. The funny thing, Dan, is that it actually does feel a little bit like cheating, like not having to do any sussing or putting 2 and 2 together. It's like, oh yeah, I just remember that was a thing. So it does. While it is fun, yes, to just know the answer outright, it does feel a little bit like I cheated, because oh, that was a question where I knew the answer. It's like too easy somehow.
Well, here's a question that I don't think you will know the answer to. Mm-hmm. Do you know why they're called the Dirtbags?
That was going to be my question for you, because now, obviously you brought it up. You piqued my curiosity. I have no idea why they're called the Dirtbags.
According to what I have known this for... I've known that they're called the Dirtbags since I've lived in Los Angeles, and was a long time ago. But until I was coming up with this question, I never knew why they were called the Dirtbags. And so I Googled it, and if what I found on the internet is correct, and that there's always the chance that it's not, because you can put anything on the internet, as we all know, but it sounded plausible. They used to have a field at which they practiced. I mentioned they're going to be mentioned in the intro and in the stumper that they're going to be playing at Blair Field, and that's not on the campus. It's I don't even know how far from the campus it is. It's in Long Beach, but it's not on the campus. So they had a field that they practice on that, like some fields, I have a cousin who's a baseball coach and a high school baseball coach, and he refers to a field with an all dirt infield as a skin field. Have you ever heard that expression? I don't even. Okay, so the field they were practicing on was all dirt, and you know, in the Los Angeles area, it could be very dry. They often go long periods without any precipitation at all. And so it was like a dirt infield, and it would get very dusty. And so when they would play practice on that field, whatever they were wearing, their uniforms or practice apparel would get all dirty because of they're on this all dirt infield, and they embraced that and called themselves dirt bags because they were also dirty. So that's apparently where that name comes from.
I'm picturing all the Long Beach State baseball players looking like Pigpen from Peanuts, just with little clouds of dirt and dust are all around them.
Yeah. So, hey, if anybody out there, if you have listeners in the Long Beach area, if they've heard a different story of the genesis of the name Dirtbags for the Long Beach State baseball program, please let Paul know via social media or email.
Or our new letters to the podcast segment that we're still trying to come up with a name for, but we're looking for your questions and your stories about minor league baseball. So please shoot us a letter. As always, pauljcaputo@gmail.com, or just send me a note on any of the social medias, and we'll feature it in our letters to the podcast segment. And also, we're looking for jingles for Studio Simon Stumpers and the letters to the podcast segment. Dan, we're just asking our listeners for so many things.
You've got great listeners, and let's see if any of them come through.
We have great listeners. Thank you, listeners, for being great and for tuning in every week. We appreciate you, and we have a great time with this. Dan, it's always fun. One of my favorite things about doing this podcast is getting to hang out with you once a week and talk about minor league baseball. So thank you for that, and we'll see you next week.
I'll see you then.